Happy Chanukah. I'm Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch. Stay tuned. Taped with Rabbi Doug is up next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Chag Sameach. This is our Chanukah show, and I'm here with Rabbi Dr. Larry Hirsch, who is back from Israel, and we are going to talk about the Chanukah holiday. For those of you who don't know the story of Chanukah, just briefly, Chanukah is a story of the Syrian Greek army that tried to control Israel when they conquered it and make everyone into Greeks for the most part. And it wasn't one of those, we want to kill every Jew, we just want to turn them into Greeks. And the Greek Syrians, led by Antiochus, who was their evil leader at the time, were up against a small group of Jews known as Hashmonaim or Maccabees, were the army, and somehow or another, by a miracle, they defeated and chased them away, and the Jewish people were able to rededicate the temple, which is the lighting of the menorah. When they relit the menorah with one flask of oil, that lasted 8 days. That's why we light the Chanukah menorah, Chanukah, every year to commemorate that. But right now we're going to talk a little bit intimately about Chanukah, and so tell us a little bit on what you have to teach us today.
Well, I think the Chanukah story is not just something that happened in, I believe, 165 BCE, but it sheds light on today's headlines. Jew against Jew, Tel Aviv against Yerushalayim. We want to be universalistic. We want to ties with all the nations. We want to live like Americans in America, and we'll go to shul. And we want to live like Brits in Britain and Aussies in Australia. And between that philosophy, and we want to stay in Williamsburg, and we don't want any ties with anybody else. We want to stay in Bnei Brak or Mea Shearim. That argument started here in Chanukah, and it's in order to fix it, in order to heal the wound of what I'm going to say is the wound of it's not me, it's Torah and some of me and some of Matis Weinberg, to heal that wound of the Gid Anasha, the split in the nation. It's going to take not just Chanukah, obviously, but Jewish history till its end.
So let me go back and explain Gid Anasha. The Gid Anasha, as we call it, the sciatic nerve. The story is really straight from the Bible in the book of Genesis, the Torah portion of Vayishlach, where Jacob and his brother Esav are about to meet after being separated because Jacob ran away because Esav wanted to kill him, and Jacob ends up going back over the Yabok stream river and picking up some of his items that he left behind as his family had already crossed. And in the meantime, he has a wrestling match with a stranger who turns out to be an angel, who changes his name in him being successful over this angel in this wrestling match. It changes his name from Jacob to Israel, Yaakov to Yisrael, and at the same time he strains him or dislocates his hip, however you want to say, the sciatic nerve, and from then on the Torah says to commemorate this, the Jews will not eat that part of an animal, and so the hindquarter of an animal, because of that, is no longer a kosher section of the animal because it contains that sciatic nerve, the Gid Anasha, as we say. So what is the connection of Gid Anasha to what you're saying?
Okay,
and
so to explain that, I'll need several props. One is this, the dreidel, Sivivo, the gimel, it's 3. when the rabbis, the Chachamim, instituted Chanukah, Sivivon apparently was part of it. And they put in a code more intricate than Dan Brown and Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Codex, because this really stands for Gimel. You can't get 6 sides. Gid, Na, She, the sciatic nerve. And you have to understand that it's not just a kid's game.
But we say that it's Nun, Gimel, Hey, Shin, Nes Gadol HaYasham, or Israeli ones which have a paid,
Right.
Nes Gadol HaYapo.
Okay, but that's true. There wouldn't be a Shin in an Israeli one, but the Israeli one is part of Geula, of redemption. This is the dreidel of Galus, of diaspora, of split. And let me explain. It's a little intricate, but let me start with this. And this Gimel 3 figures prominently in the parsha we're going to read, Vayeshev, the Yosef story. I'm going to leave it there. And it requires a Gemara. The Gemara is actually a very famous one.
The Talmud.
The Gemara asks, Tana Rabbanan, mitzvahs Chanukah. What is the mitzvah Chanukah? What do you do when you light the candles? And the Gemara continues, Ner ishu beito, 1 candle for a household. V'mahadrin, those who do it at a higher level of observance, want to beautify the mitzvah more, the commandment more. Ner l'chol echad v'achad. Now this is the rabbinic commandment to how do you do it? Every individual lights. V'mahadrin mina mahadrin. Now there's an argument. The ones who observe this mitzvah to its most beautiful extent, Beit Shammai omim yom rishon madlik shmona mikan ve'elech pochet v'holech. Day 1, you light 8 candles. After that, you decrease 7 for the second day, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last day 1.
This is
not
the
what we do.
opinion of Beit Shammai.
This is not what we do. Beit Hillel omrim yom rishon madlik achat. This is what we do. Day 1 of Chanukah, light 1 candle. Mikan ve'elech mosif v'holech. You add a candle till you finally reach 8. Now, that's 3 levels. Another 3, Gimel, is found actually in the Parsha of the Yosef story. Because the Yosef story is the Chanukah story, as I just said. Chanukah was Jew against Jew. Kohen Jew, those who followed the Chachamim, the Prushim, against the Hellenists, the Mityavnim. And there we see...
Well, I just explained. Hellenists are Jews who adapted the Greek customs. So go on.
Okay. In the Yosef story, he's thrown in jail in Egypt by his master Potiphar.
After his brothers threw him into a pit and sold him as a slave.
Got him sold into Egypt, right? Joseph's in Egypt. He eventually runs Potiphar, his master's household, and now comes the sex story. His master's wife tries to entice him. The pasuk, the verse in the Torah is Vayma'ain. Very interesting verse. He refuses. I'm not going to sleep with you. Vayomer Leshet Adonav. No way. Vayma'ain has a very interesting ta'am, interesting way to sing it, because it sounds like 3. Vayma'ain. You read it up once. Vayma'ain. You go up twice. 3 times. The man who reads the Baal Koreh, Kriya, who reads it, his voice goes up 3 times, hinting that there's 3 refusals, and indeed the Talmud...
We call that a shalshalit, which also has the same shorish.
Shalosh, right, exactly. Yuma, in Islam at Hayom Bet, discusses that there were 3 refusals. And here's what happens. Amar alav Yosef HaTzadik, b'chol yom v'yom, they said about Yosef, every day, she was trying to convince him to sleep with her. She changed clothes, designer clothes day and night. Amrala, Hishamali, listen to me. Amarla, lo. Now comes 3 threats. 3 again. I'm going to put you in jail. Bait.
She said this.
She said this. Amar la, these are the brachos, the blessings that we make Shachris in the morning. Hashem matir asurim, we say, Hashem Elokeinu melech olam, Hashem matir asurim. That's what he answered her. God gets those in prison, out of prison, no threat to me. Hareini kofafta komotecha, I'm going to lower your height, meaning I'm going to either put you on the rack or whatever. Hashem's okef kfufim, God straightens out those who are bent low, is Yosef's answer, no threat to me. Hareini mesameh et einecha, the third threat. 3 threats. I'm going to blind you. Hashem pukeach ivrim. God makes the blind see. Natna lo elef kikrei kesef. There was one more item here. And I'm going to tell you that one item is money, and that's what we see as in Israel called Chanukah or Chanukah geld. A fourth issue that's not a threat. Lishmor la lishkav etzla liyotima, which is she tried to bribe him. V'lo ratza lishmor eleha. He didn't listen to her. Okay, so we've got 3 threats and 3 levels of a mitzvah. What I'm going to tell you is that when the Gemara says the first level of the mitzvah was ner ishu beito, a candle for every household, that's what they were talking about. She says, I'm going to put you in your beit hasurim, in jail, the house of the prisoner's house. And just like when the Greeks, there were 3 main edicts against the Jews. One against Shabbos, which is the main institution for the Jewish household and family, corresponding to Beit Asurim, and therefore, when the Chachamim saw that the Jews won, the Maccabim won, and they got the temple back, they instituted this Ner Chanukah, Ner Ishu Beito, we beat the Greeks. They made a decree against our Shabbos, our household, Ner Ishu Beito, 1 candle for each house, every night, 1. That's it, that's all there would be. The next level of observance is the Mahadrim, those who want to beautify it more. They're Ner L'chol Echad V'Echad, each individual. This requires a little explanation. What she had said to him was, I'm going to knock you down from your heights, your height down. And the second main decree of the Greeks was against Jewish circumcision. And back in the Torah, when God says, Abraham, I want you to circumcise yourself, he falls, Vayipol Avram al Panav, he falls on his face. He, uncircumcised, he cannot stand in the presence of God upright. So he falls. Zokef Kfufim, he's bent over. And then Hashem says, I want you to walk in front of me. You will be perfect because you're going to have a circumcision. So when she, Potiphera, threatened Joseph, she was threatening his bris milah. Just as the Greeks decreed later, no bris milah, no circumcision. And then the Chachamim saw when the Jews won, Ishu Beito, this is a candle for each individual. We even say that the wife, who the mother of the baby, not only is the father commanded directly to circumcise his son like Avram was commanded, but the wife also has a part in the mitzvah. And indeed, the whole parsha Tazria, where the mitzvah is given not just to Abraham but now to all the Jews, Isha ki Tazria, it's stressing the woman.
Not only that, we know that Moses' second son was circumcised by his wife Zipporah because he hadn't taken care of it.
Exactly. So, and now the third one. The third one is fascinating because the third main zera that the Greeks made against the Jews was Rosh Chodesh. And that doesn't even seem to belong in the same league as Shabbos, Bris Milah, Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is nothing. You go to shul and you daven an extra half hour, but what's it got to do with being a main holiday? But it was a major break with Greek philosophy. If you ever
But
had...
it was a day off, let me just mention, Rosh Chodesh, the first day of a Jewish month, being celebrated as a holiday in the synagogue, it was also a day of no work for women. Women took the day off and celebrated it from housework or from whatever kind of work that they did. So it was a holiday for women in ancient times and carried over with that.
But it was way more. If anybody ever had to, any of you had to read Greek philosophy, Sophocles, Agamemnon gets zapped by Zeus. He's blinded. He never comes back. And what made Greek tragedy so tragic is that once you fell, you didn't get up. And what is particular to Rosh Chodesh is the moon waxes and wanes. It comes back. Just like the Jews were thrown out of of Israel, the Jews came back once.
Rosh Chodesh is the new moon.
Right, came back once in 500 BCE and came back again in 1948 CE. The Jews come back. There is a tshuva. The Musaf of Rosh Chodesh is a kapara for the moon to doing tshuva. And so our particular Jewish vision is Yosef's particular vision. His very name means increase, means even if I'm bent down, I'm coming back. Even if I'm thrown into the pit, God is going to get me out of here. And that's what the Greeks could not tolerate Rosh Chodesh and that whole philosophy. And when the Jews won, the Chachamim said, you light a candle, Mosi Faholech, in an increasing way. Now, Beit Shammai, there's opinions among the rabbis that they're even a higher level. But the rabbis pegged the level of observance according to Beis Hillel in almost all instances, including this one, and that's how we light. Now I want to get to the fourth issue, because the fourth issue is the most fascinating of it all, and for that I do need Rav Matis Weinberg, because he explains what is the whole idea of money. Money is pure potential. I can do anything with money. I can buy a car, I can buy a house, I can buy politicians. Well, we won't get into that. But what is youth? Eternal youth. And what do we have here? V'hu nar et b'nei Bilha. What is Yosef in the beginning of the story? He's pure potential. And in fact, one of the words for potential is chen. The man has chen. Yosef has chen. Yiddish, physical beauty, character beauty. The man reaches out to everybody in relations that even extend outwardly, universally. Two Egyptian officers in jail, Yosef walks in, hey guys, you don't look so good this morning, you're frowning, what's wrong? He's pure chen in relationships. And that's represented by money and by all the stories about money that you're going to read in Parshas Vayeshev. Where's the money? It's in the sacks, the brothers' sacks. And his whole outlook of being a kid, what's a kid? Your average 3.5-year-old. I can be a policeman, I can be a fireman, I can be a doctor, I can be in anything. Potential, pure potential. The brothers looked at this kid, this dreamer, Joe the crazy one, Joe the dreamer. He ain't gonna be anything in life. Ma Betza Yehuda says, he sells Yosef, where's the cash? If there's cash, there's something in this deal. But dreams, take the dreams. Avram had a dream, 400 years, you're going down to some sort of exile. Forget it, we got a sheep business here. We're staying where we are and we're doing sheep business. Dreamers, not for us, stay away. And that's the difference between what you have modern Israelis. Tachlis, man, that's all we want. And Yehuda and the brothers said very simply, you got big business behind you, you got big oil behind you, you got the politicians behind you, you got an army with tanks and F-35s and stealth bombers. Okay, you can run a country. This guy won't run a country. But we know the story was entirely different. He did run a country. God got him out of every pit he was thrown in. And in the end, Yosef's got the cash, the whole world's money. He's the only one with food, and the brothers are sitting and starving in Israel. And that's the basis of an argument until today. Jews in Tel Aviv, Jews who are more secular, we're gonna be part of the world, part of the secular world, and that's Yosef. And in fact, even when a Haredi blesses his kid Friday night, puts his hands on his kid's head, you see two highly assimilated looking Jews, the brothers who were the religious ones, Vayit Naklu, Rashi says, they did all kinds of religious schemes. They were the religious ones. Yosef and his kids didn't look like Jews. They didn't dress with a kapata and a shtreimel. They didn't dress with a knit kippah, whatever. They did not look like Jews, and therefore the brothers did not notice that they were Yosef and his kids. They're the ones who actually everybody blesses with. And that's the end of the Jewish story will only come, and this is pure Rav Matis Weinberg, when this fight turns into something else, and that's Vayigash, when the brothers get together, when Binyamin is in danger, and Yehuda says, I don't care. Like a Hashmonai, like the Maccabim, and there's stories, 5,000 Jews in the times of the Chanukah story against 100,000 Greek soldiers. Yehuda says, we're 12, we're 11, we'll take on the whole country. And that's what's going to be needed. And with that, I want to get into one last issue, and that's the final Gemaras in Sota. And it's fascinating, because what we read on Chanukah is a Haftorah that goes like this. Lo b'koach ki im beruchi amar Hashem. Only with my spirit. And what was the spirit that was moving the brothers? Vaikan ubo, kina. Kina means pure jealousy. Raw emotions, brother against brother. I'll kill you, I'll throw you into a pit. And it has to be changed to what we know as kana'ut, the kanuta, Pinchas, to stand up for Am Yisrael. And the question is how. And that's, and Sota, the Gemara is there, it's very fascinating. It's husband and wife, and sex. And actually, our story here, with Yosef, is Yosef's turned into a sex symbol. The women are banot alot al ishur, Yaakov says. This here was a Kennedy with charisma. He's physically beautiful. He's smiley and handsome. And Yaakov even fed that image. He gave him designer clothes, Ksonis Pasim, the coat of many colors. The king of Egypt also nurtured such an image. You're a sex symbol. I'm going to make use of it. You're now the new Kennedy. We're going to create the new Camelot. And that's the story of how Kina, the jealousy of the brothers, is going to turn into Kana'ut. And how. And connection is this gid. A gid means connection. Koach masav higid lamo. God gave us Eretz Yisrael by transmitting His message and power to us, Jews, to get Eretz Yisrael. But there's a breakdown. The breakdown between the brothers. Gid hanashed. The breakdown also in use of money, the Chachamim say. That's the problems here. And Yosef's the one who can use the money, but Yosef, he's sex and he's not. He's the sex symbol without the sex. He doesn't. He almost does. Doesn't have sex with Ashes Potiphar. The Sota also has a problem with the covenant between her and her husband. Just like Am Yisrael has a problem throughout history, a covenant between them and their husband, God Himself. We are God's bride. At Matan Torah, we learn all of our customs for a wedding ceremony from the giving of the Torah. So we are the Sota. But in the Sota story, she values her covenant, her bris, with her husband more than she values the lover, who she never really, a Sota, she doesn't actually commit adultery. She is nishterah, she's secluded with him. She's tempted. But the whole point there being that in the end she values her relation, her yachas, her bris, her covenant with her husband way more. And the brothers, the whole point of all this sex and all these stories, Tamar and Yehuda, she seduces him. And the brothers had said, you, Mr. Sex Symbol, we're gonna find you in a house of prostitution wherever the heck you end up. And he didn't. And the point is, he is in control of those raw emotions, his desires, of his hormones, and they are not. That's why he's called Yosef HaTzadik. And the whole point of Am Yisrael is we're in control of our relations with our husband, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it gets much deeper when you figure also that when we talk about Yaakov Avinu and Yisrael, like you were talking, it's his ladder, connecting again. A gid. Gid means connection, like a sciatic nerve connects the thigh to the spine. The gid hanasha, a breakdown in these relations, is what led to all the problems among the brothers, the problems among Yaakov's progeny, and what we're seeing today. And hopefully with this, in this Chanukah season, this problem will be healed. We'll spin our dreidel, and the Gid Nasha Ninshin Hay will be healed. In fact, in the Yosef story, very quickly, he names a kid Minasha. It's a quirk of Hebrew grammar that Minasha means remove the Nasha. And one of the games Yosef plays with the brothers is he has Menashe do that in real life. Take out of the animals that they're going to eat from. You take out the Gid Nasha. Show them that we can heal this problem, and we're still fighting the problem.
We sure are.
And need to heal it.
We sure are. Tell me, we say Nes Gadol Hayasham or Nes Gadol Hayapo in Israel. A great miracle happened there, or a great miracle happened here. Tell me, when they say those words, do we refer to the war against the Greek Syrians, or are we referring to the miracle of the menorah, of the oil, one flask of oil that was found, and they were able to relight a menorah that lasted a week until 8 days until they could bring new oil from the Kohen? What are we referring to?
Well, obviously both. I mean, it's both the physical miracle of against all odds, beating the Greeks, what seems impossible on a physical level, and this light that to this day, light to us means knowledge, light to us means enlightenment, light to us, the physicists say it's all started with light, and the Kabbalists say all that's physical and seemingly solid is not really, and it all started with light and energy and mass is all one. So it's on all levels, the very nace, the miracle of physical existence, the very miracle of our spiritual existence after all these years, despite the Greeks and despite all the darkness of even this exile which we're in, which is against not Greek philosophy really, but Western living and standards of living. That's the present Greco-Roman darkness that we're up against. And it's a miracle that we're still here, and hopefully we'll heal all of these rifts and continue to prosper in Yosef.
Well, hopefully we will, and we should see a third Beis Hamikdash, B'mheira v'yameinu, as we say, the third temple come in our days, and peace around the world for everyone, for all Israel and for all the world. I want to thank all of you for being with us. What a great Hanukkah show. Thank you, Rabbi Dr. Larry Hirsch here from Beit El Bet, from Israel. I want to thank all of you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. We can also see former shows on the web and see Dr. Hirsch with us a number of other times in the past on our show. If you want to email Rabbi Dr. Larry Hirsch or me or our show, info@tvrabbi.com is the email address. Hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom and Chag Chanukah Sameach, or as we say, Happy Hanukkah.
I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I will play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.